Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So welcome Ismail. Welcome Razak. So we're going to start now. Yeah, thank you. I want to tell us a bit about secretives, after which we're going to, have Dr. Aladapo take us in the webinar. Thank you. So at Techlitics, we empower Africa's workforce for a digital future. And this is an overview, right? We saw that the African continent is experiencing a shortage of professionals in data science, product management, no-code software development fields, and that's why we're here. We're here to bridge that gap. We're here to ensure that people have the necessary digital skills they need to, become relevant in today's digital world. And Techlitics is an edtech institution. We're driving Africa's growth by equipping its workforce with critical digital skills, aligning with SDG goals for quality education and decent work and economic growth. We are also accredited by the CPD accreditation certification service in the UK. And we adopt a blended model of cohort-based learning programs. That's what makes us stand out, basically. And it's a practice-driven virtual simulation lab. We also have that course where, our students can actually work on live projects. And they're not just learning theories over and over again. And that's what makes us stand out. Our vision is to be the leading force in Africa's digital transformation, equipping professionals with essential skills that foster economic growth, resilience, and sustainable development across Nigeria. And our mission is to drive Africa's growth by providing accessible, accredited digital education in data, product management, and local development. I talked about the problem statement earlier and why we are here. So we're here to bridge that gap. We're here to ensure that there's sustainable economic growth across the continent through our programs that we offer. And these are our solutions. We have our cohort-based learning models where people will come in for a period of time to learn different courses ranging from data science, no code development, data analytics, data governance, like the webinar we're having today. And what that helps to do is that, there's peer engagement. You are in a society or a community of like-minded people, and then you are able to learn together, collaborate together, and understand deeper, right, what you're learning. There's also practice-driven experience. I talked about our Pulse Lab, where you can actually work with live data on what you're being taught. And then there are strategic internship placements and our AI-enabled elements where you can get real-time feedback on your assignment, quizzes, coding, and things, you're working on, right? There's that virtual assistants that help you as you get stuck. You don't need to wait for a long time. So that's our solution, and those are the things that really make us stand out at Techlitics. These are our notable partnership. Currently, we're in a partnership with the Nigerian Society of Engineers. We're helping them train the young engineers in skills such as data analytics. We're helping them, bridge that skill gap that we've been talking about. And these are the brands that have trusted us over time. Yeah, this is the best team. This is Tayo, the founder, me, the program manager. We have Timothy, and we also have Triumph. And today, we're here to talk about data governance principles and best practices. Now, I want to introduce Dr. Aladapo. That's our tutor for today. Dr. Aladapo Olukomaya is a senior data governance officer with a research-driven mindset and a strong analytical background. Leveraging prior experience as a data and reporting analyst, it designs and enforces regulatory policies that keep enterprise data accurate, secure, and compliant. Is skilled at translating complex requirements into clear governance frameworks, building robust data quality metrics, and leading cross-functional stewardship initiatives that turn information into trusted business-ready assets. Can we welcome Dr. Oladapo Olukomaya as he takes us in our webinar today? Welcome, Dr. Oladapo. It's nice to have you here, and thank you for honoring our invitation. Dr. Oladapo, please, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. Oladapo? Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir? Hi, Dr. Ladako. I just requested you to unmute, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sir, and welcome. You can have the floor now, sir. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Sorry, just a minute, please. Okay. Just to confirm again, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir. We can hear you and we can see you too.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not very used to Zoho. I'm more familiar with Teams and other Teams meeting. So I use more of Teams and then Zoom. I think I'll try. I want to believe they should be almost the same, working similar. Okay, so let me share my screen. Or are you going to be able me project the slides? Or I should project it from here?
You can project it from your end, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Please let me know when you can view my screen. Can you see my screen, please? Hello? Can you see my screen? Can you also hear me?
Yes, we can. We can see your screen.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. And then once again, thank you for the introduction and thank you for the opportunity to share. Let me say the little knowledge I have in data governance with your team and all the other participants that's attending this webinar. So I'll try as much as possible to not make it too theoretical, okay, or maybe say not too more of a general kind of discussion, because I would like to even give some real life examples in between. So when you hear of data governance, what comes into mind? That's the first question I ask people. What comes into mind? Okay. So data governance essentially, just like the name implies, when we say governance, we think this is the way I initially approached understanding data governance. Looking at the system of government, we have the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. Legislatives are the lawmakers. They are the ones that make the laws, the rules, they make the laws for the country. That's the legislatives. Executives, so legislators make the rules. Executive are the ones that what? Enforce the rules to make sure that it is being followed. So within the executive, you have the governors. Let me use Nigeria as an example. All the governors in the state, they are making sure that whatever has been said in the constitution is being followed. Then the judiciary, constitutes of the court, the police, the task force, or maybe let me say law enforcement agencies who try to like penalize those that don't follow the rules or break the rules. So therein comes governance. So data governance is at the core, is at the center part of data management that brings together all the different aspects. So within data governance, it ensures that are there clear rules that have been set, the procedures, what are the regulatory policies that have been put in place, and are you aware that if I break this particular policy, this is the penalty? Let me give an example. In my organization, for instance, there is something we call, or let me say, in the country I live, there are some rules that have been passed into law, like the Australian privacy principles. It defines what we call private, sensitive information, personal information. What are the definitions that you need to know, and you want to understand the actual context of what it means? Also, there is the Privacy Act of 1988. So these particular policies have been written and they govern how data is, not just how it is managed, but how data is being used. So looking at this wheel, we can see here that there are different aspects within the data management different branches, from the data architecture, from the data to the data modeling and design, the data storage and operation. So looking at all of these things, they are all connected together. But the central part of the data management that brings all of them together is the data governance. So as we proceed in this presentation, I will be touching based on some part of all of them. But let me just mention in brief. When we talk of data quality, for instance, if there is no proper governance in place, you cannot have good data quality. And data quality can be achieved essentially by having good data quality policies in place. When we're talking of data quality, you want your data to be consistent. You want your data to be accessible. There could be an organization that have data in different systems, but they can be connected together. And you don't want your data to be siloed, meaning you don't want it to be locked in an area that is only one person that can access it. Such data is not accessible. So when we talk about data quality, imagine I'm filling a form. I come into your organization. You asked of my first name and my family name, and you ask for my date of birth. These are just personal information. And in another part in the organization, I create another form that says first name, middle name, family name, phone number. You see, they are not consistent. I've already introduced, there are already discrepancies, meaning if I call up the data for the first form, the information it will give me will be slightly different from the information from the second one, because from the first one, there's no middle name, but from the second one, there's a middle name. From the inquiries from the first one, there is a phone number, and the second one does not have a phone number. So you see, there's already discrepancies. And again, when you have people that come into your organization or that want to have access to data, and you don't track the data of data, so that is metadata. Metadata simply means what are the data that we take into that has been stored for another data. So when an information is edited, like if somebody needs data now and I release the data for the person, the question should be, what information do I have of the person that requests this data? These are all what governance needs to check. When was the data last accessed? Were there proper security checks done for the person that accessed the data? Is the person actually authorized to access this data? How will this person use this data? So if there's something within the database that is changed, it should be noted, it should be recorded. Another interesting part I would like to mention is data document and content management. There's something called version control. For us to actually be able to execute some activities properly, there's something we call version control. Now, looking from a science perspective, while I was working in the lab, there's something called standard operating procedures. For me to operate this machinery or for me to operate this equipment, okay, I need to pour 5 mil. Let me just do something like in the chemistry lab. For me to I want to make this phenolic compound. Okay, the stepwise process I go through, I follow. That is the operation, the standard operating procedure, or what in some places we call it work instructions. If someone now comes and changes something in it, that change should be tracked and documented. And the someone of higher authority should approve those changes. So that by the time somebody else is coming, we can see that, oh, there has been a slight change in the working instructions or the SOPs we are using to conduct our research. But because in many organizations, data governance is not taken serious, so people just do things. So if I use the former SOP to conduct my experiment, I can tell you for free, by the time the same SOPs are modified and I conduct the whole process again, I can tell you I'm going to have 2 different results. So in a bid for us to have uniformity of results, to enhance smooth process, data governance is very, very important. Even when we talk of data security, we want to be sure that the emails that are going out or coming in, they are well labeled. They are compliance management. We ensure that we don't allow anyone that is not properly checked or properly verified their background and not properly to have access to data, because data itself is an asset. Just like as we all are all here now, if they ask you, what are your assets? You talk about cars, you talk about your house, you talk about this, farmland, and this and that. That is the same thing. Think for once, is it possible for me to leave my house without locking my door? What will happen? It means I've just given an intruder that easy access to come in, to steal my valuables and go away with it. In this time and age, if we don't take careful note of data governance, we are exposing ourselves indirectly to what we call identity theft. You've heard of hackers, people that will come, they will send some spam messages or malware or something. They have access to your system, they have access to your phone, they have access to your database. And once they can have access to it, they can now be releasing those data online. And you know what it means? If, for instance, we know there are semi-structured data, there are unstructured data, and there are structured data. Imagine all my live data. Somebody just carry it and starts pushing it online. How will I feel? So that is the knowledge we are trying to share with people, that even with what the social media is, part of the things we tell people is know what to post online. Anything that goes online is no longer a secret. So it's part of data security. Don't share any information that you are not comfortable that if it gets into the hands of someone else, they can manipulate it. So there's a lot to talk about. So let me just try and come back to the topic of today. So a quick introduction. So the exercise of the authority and control over the management of data asset. Like I said, data governance is you are exercising authority. If data will move from point A to point B, it has to go through a data governance check. What are these checks? We want to talk about understanding that, okay, let me go into some practical, some artifacts that we can use even while we are conducting data governance checks. Depending on the nature of the activity or the task, there's something called privacy threshold assessment. These are some checks that are done to know the magnitude of what we want to do with the data and a couple of things. There's also what we call privacy impact assessment. These are big documents. They are legal documents that are written in conjunction with lawyers. It documents how the data will be used. Are there any secrecy provision? Maybe in this part of the work, there is a clause. You need to understand that if this data I want to be using or I'm requesting for, is there a clause that permits me to use it for primary use or secondary use? Take, for instance, in Australian system, there is something called the residential aged care data. I work with the public sector. There are some clause around it that I can use those data for claims, but I can't use those data for research. So these are some of the knowledge one should have. And those things are publicly written in the policies. My ignorance of the policy does not excuse me from the punishment. So by the time I'm conducting a data governance check, I need to check that, okay, look at this requester. What does this person want to do with this data? How is it going to be managed? What is it going to be the time duration of how the data, okay, what is the data requested regularly? Is it a one-off or a periodic request? I will need to know who is the data steward, who is the data owner, who is the data custodian. So a data owner in this instance could mean an organization, or it could mean like maybe like the CEO in an organization could be a data owner. A manager, for instance, if there is an overall CEO who has several managers under him or her, each manager could be a data steward. So a data steward is someone that we will need to communicate with to give an approval in form of an email, or like they have to give their sign off that, okay, I am happy to release this data for whatever purpose has been requested. So we need, as a data governance analyst or a data governance officer, I will need to inform the data steward that, okay, we have checked the data. There are no personal identifiers, which are like name, sensitive information, information that are personal. Anything that can easily identify the person, we have to make sure that it is de-identified. And again, we've checked through the requests and see that they are just aggregate data. So there are different types of data. Again, there are unit level data, they are aggregate data. So unit level could mean, take for instance, I'm a boy, I am fair, I am this height. They can graphically know me. But when we talk of aggregate data, they can say, okay, I am my age, instead of, okay, let me say I'm 45. Instead of saying my age is 45, they can say my age is between 40 and 50. That's an aggregate data. They can say, where, instead of me saying my country of origin, instead of saying I'm Nigerian, they can say I am of African descent. So by so doing, it will mask the actual data. So when an aggregate data is released, to a large extent, it poses less risk when the data is eventually released for use. So these are some of the things you need to inform the data steward, that we have done all these checks to make sure that this data is not going to pose any risk to the persons. And again, there are some requests that involves you getting waiver of consent, or you have to get consent of the people. So that's talking about data privacy. Not many people don't know that when we go into websites and we are trying to fill in, maybe signing up an account or I'm buying something, they will usually put some information at the base of the screen. They will put a checkbox. I agree to this and that and that and that. Many of us just tick it, pew, 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 just tick it and go. Click. The whole thing goes. We don't know that by so doing, we have told the other people at the other end, send me junk. And that's why sometimes when you open your email, you'll be seeing several messages. You'll be like, I can't remember when I agreed to all these things they are sharing, but you never knew you were asking for it when you were signing up. Many of us, if I take us back, when we were signing up for maybe our Google accounts, our Yahoo accounts, or even Facebook accounts, in those early days, we just click everything. Even when we are buying on all these Asian sites, we just click everything. Even when we see on some screens, they say accept cookies, reject cookies, and all these things. We don't even know. We just click yes and approve. So by so doing, cookies in itself, all those things, indirectly, they could be accessed by third party. So people sell those data to people. All in the name of it, they will tell us, okay, yeah, the cookies is used to have a good experience with the system and all these things. But the question should be, are those people actually using the data for what they say they want to use it for? Or they're using it for something else? So this is what governance tries to put in place by putting authority and control in place. So data governance functions as a guide across all the data management aspects. So data governance helps to put in place or to apply the needed policies and best practices. And data governance is not just the activity of those in the data governance unit or the data governance team. It is everybody's duty. There is a time they usually do a type of practice in an organization. They will deliberately encode a particular message with a link and send it out. They want to know people that will just see the email without properly reading it before clicking it. You need only one person to click the wrong link and then have the system corrupt. Just like when we say the hack WhatsApp account, it's one person that his data has been breached. And part of it is when we are trying to embark on any project, any task, there are data management agreement that needs to be signed. Take, for instance, there are 4 of us that want to embark on a project. After maybe privacy impact assessment have been done, we've seen that, okay, are these risks manageable? All the parties, are we going to be able to make our own part clear? And also, like I said, the life cycle of data is one thing that is very key that organizations need to understand, from how the data is going to be sourced, how the data is going to be transported, is it going to be stored in a remote location, for how long, who will have access to that data, how will that data be safely used, how long will the data be stored, how long will it take before the data is eventually deleted, like end of life data erasure. How will this data be used for the purpose that it has been requested for? Are there any reports, publications that need to be sent? Will I need, as a part of the, like, because in data management agreement, there's always a principal party, like the data owner. Like my organization has the data, but I'm working in collaboration, in conjunction with others. If that data is going to be used for something, they need to let me know before it can be written out in publication. Because you remember, we're having data of people, we're having lives of people that we are putting out to use for research. So we need to protect it. That's where data governance comes in. There are instances that people release softwares. So there are checks that needs to be done before a software goes live. Because there is no way you will have a software that it will not, like, okay, CRM, for instance. For someone to use a CRM, customer relationship management system, as people are coming in, okay, we need this product, we need these services, you put your name, as you take in people's details, it is being collected at the back end. There should be a governance in place that who will have access to that data being collected. That data should not get to the wrong hand. And that data should be safely stored. It's not going to be something that your family member will just open your computer and can easily get your password. Even the kind of password that needs to be used to log in, it will be specially created with conditions. And that is why you see that some organizations will say password will expire maybe after 3 months, after 6 months, because a data breach can mess up a lot of things. Also, what are the measures that have been put in place? This is about risk. You know, you foresee things and you put measures in place that, okay, if there's a risk, if there's a data breach, what can we do? So those are some of the things that goes into the data management agreement. Another important document that I've learned in my own data governance journey is data sharing agreement. So for the data steward to release data, I will tell the person, okay, we've done about all the checks and the person is satisfied. Then the person says, okay, I approve. So then I go back to the partners and say, okay, this data will be used, but we need to go into a written agreement and sign it that this data will only be shared with you for this purpose, used for this purpose, nothing more, nothing less. So everybody is clear and plain about what you want to do from the start. So if anything goes wrong, you can actually take it up against them because data is very, very important. So data is a corporate asset. It is everybody's business. From the business part, even to the IT, to the HR, to all aspects in the organization, data governance is very important. So in a way to just quickly do current state analysis, to just know your capability, there's something we call data management and maturity. So it's just a way of meeting with stakeholders, gauging the level of data literacy. It will really surprise you that many of the big organizations we see, they don't have anything in place regarding data literacy. Everybody is talking about IT, but the question should be, is everyone really data literate? I prefer to work as a data analyst. And sometimes when I finish building a report or they give me access, in those dashboards, like in Power BI, there are some parts of it that we are supposed to hide and limit access before sending it. Because there has been an instance that I heard of. They've made a report, they've made everything. They just sent it through to maybe, I think, a senior director. And there are some parts of that report that were not supposed to have been accessible to that person. You don't want to share too much of information, even though the person is working in your organization. Data governance helps you to mind your business because it's only what you need to see that you should see. If you are seeing, like me now, because of the sensitivity of what I do, I have been put through some background checks, some classified checks. They've asked me to do some couple of things because I'm looking at people's live data. They are bringing me into meeting, into board with people that there are times that you'll be hearing some things and you'll be like, wow. But because of the sensitive nature of what you're doing, they've done checks, so they are rest assured that I am under obligation not to disclose anything. That is what data governance will teach. For someone else that is not working with some of those sensitive information, they won't worry too much. So data management maturity is you check through every part of your department. You assess how well they are literate with their data, how well they even understand what to do with data storage. If I have my data, how do I store it? Even the proper naming convention. There are data attributes, data dictionaries. Okay, for this particular work I want to do, we need to store this data in a particular format. So a document that helps to know, okay, the name should come in form of strings or this kind of format. So data dictionary stipulates the kind of characters that should be captured for data. Anything numbers, it should be alphabet. It will tell you, okay, this thing should take maybe 4 lines or 4 words. It specifies it. Alphabet or name, it should come in maybe alphanumeric. So you specify all of these things in the data dictionary. Another question is it all organizations that work with the data dictionary? People just do their things anyhow. So these are some of the things that determines data maturity. Capacity to change. When you come into the organization and you are telling people about are you currently managing your work, from the data governance to the data analytics and visualization to the data engineering to the data product, people that are the data custodians, so this is it. As a data governance officer, I get the clearance or approval from the data steward, who is acting on behalf of the data owner. I communicate with the data custodian, and they release the data to whoever needs it. So that is how the chain works. So, but I, as the data governance, I'm like the watchdog. So I monitor that everything goes through the due process. If I spy or I sense danger, I flag it. So, but now the question is, if you are telling your people in the organization that, oh, the way we do things, it seems we are very resistant to change. Can't we do these things better? Okay, take for instance, a tool like Microsoft Purview is a very versatile tool for managing governance. But if you check most organizations, they are still using Excel, they're still doing so many things manual. Another effective way of working is putting things in SharePoint. SharePoint helps people in a team or in the organization that have access to be able to access documents in real time. If I open those documents, we can do what we call, like I mentioned in the beginning, document control. You will know that this document was last modified. If you open it from the 4-page, you will see who was the person that created the document, who approved it, when was the date the document was created, when was it last modified. This is the way to manage governance, that as the change and evolve, we are monitoring it and we are tracking it. And how are people responding? When we tell people to seek governance, people are very hesitant. Okay, there was a time I was completing a governance request. They had requested for a 4-month data, which was from, I know it was from 4 months before November. That's November is 11 months. So like between July and November of 2024, we had done it, it had gone. They need another 4 months. So that'll be December, January, February, March. So when they now sent me that request to complete again, we now issued the data guidance steward tool to go through the whole process again. Then the person, like the data, I think that was the data analytics subject matter expert, reached out to me. I was like, I thought they have written the clearance. Is that clearance not supposed to be covering all subsequent requests? We have to tell the person no. Now, because the data request previously was for a different month, and now this is another different month, the individuals that were involved or that the former data captured are different from the data that is being released. So it could be different people entirely. So the other things we now have to let them know is either we prepare, since we are needing 4 months, you can just get all the quarterly things, send it to the data steward, get the approval. So we send it to the data product so that as the time you need the data, they just issue it to you. So the person now, we have to create those, like, we have to educate those people that this is the better ways of doing things. So that's our best practices. So that collaboration too, looking at how you interact with different business units, you have to check them out. Are they willing to accept those new ways of doing things? And above all, everything we do in governance drives all of us to one thing, the business goal. How does it help us to achieve strategic alignment to our business needs or our business objective? As someone working in governance, I want to make sure that whatever decision is made to give the organization the best result at the end. Because I know that if I don't do my work well, it will put someone's work in trouble. And it's a repulsive effect. So it's not like my work is isolated. All of us in the team, our work is connected together. So broadly looking at the data governance principles, accountability. So in this area, you see some of the roles I've mentioned before, data owners, the data steward, the data custodian, everybody is involved. So you want to know how my role affects how the data is moved from one place to the other. And one key thing in data governance is understanding of roles and responsibility. If I don't know my role and responsibility, like like when I joined my current team, we were short-staffed. That alone can affect accountability, because if a particular task that should be distributed among 3 people is being done by one person, it's going to affect the outcome in the end. The person may be experiencing burnout. So when we have everyone working in their place, it creates better accountability. You know who to hold responsible for what. So accountability and ownership, they're two different things. They sound very similar, but they are two different things. Ownership means if I need to speak to someone in charge of Orange, I know who to speak with. But to now understand what operates in that Orange space, I need to speak to that person. So accountability and ownership. Like I said before, a data owner sometimes could be the organization. It could be an individual at a very high senior level who oversees the affairs of the department or the organization. So a data steward is the person that has been appointed as you keep charge. You're like, as the name implies, steward. Before the data goes out, I need to sign. I need to give my sign off. I need to give my approval. I need to issue a clearance. If I don't issue a clearance, that data must not go out. And you need to convince me that you have done all the necessary checks for me to release. Like I'm doing some clearance at the moment that I've been on it for weeks now. Sometimes you send clearance out and you say, please, can you get me more information so that I can have a better understanding of this that I can go back to the data requester. So that's where I have to shuttle in between the data requester and the data steward to be able to get information to flow from one place to the other. Once the data steward is satisfied, they issue the clearance, I communicate back, and then the data is released. So data custodians are the people who the data is actually sitting in their care. So data stewards and data custodians, they work together. So the data steward is the one that issues the signature that this thing can be released. They actually give the endorsement. The data steward will say, okay, yes, my lord, we are releasing the data. So they work together. Transparency. Any data in an organization should be transparent for everybody to use. The processes should be clear. The decisions, the policies must be visible. As I'm talking to you now, if you Google online, Australia privacy principles, you will see everything. Nothing hidden. Privacy Act of 1988, put it there. ISO 27001, everything, you can see it online. So meaning there won't be any issue of maybe I didn't know. Everybody is knowledgeable and aware of how the data, of what are the guiding principles and policies governing the use of data. So under transparency is another area is metadata management. There's something we call data asset register. Within this data register, we have a way of tracking the data steward, the data custodian. We track the organization. We track different information so that if you are looking for data in your organization, you know who to speak with. You can even just jump into it. They will give an access. Some of those things can sit in SharePoint. Like I said, everyone will have access to it, especially for you working in governance. You can just go into maybe your document part in your SharePoint, open it, then open up the document and say, okay, I need to speak with this person. Claims, okay, I need to speak to rehabilitation, okay, I need to speak to hospitality. They know who to speak with. Then you can pull out the data and connect with the person by email or by chat or just know you. So because you have a directory or you have a data catalog, you know who to speak with. If you are running, just like you have catalog, like, okay, I want to buy something. Okay, this is the manufacturer. This is the location. This is the contact details. You will see the things you are looking for and you will know who to speak with. That is part of the transparency we are talking about. Integrity is the data is accurate, consistent, and trustworthy. If you don't trust your data, you cannot have a good experience working with data. And that is why we need to do quality checks from time to time. Like that, sometimes people set guardrails in place that, okay, for this data to be accurate, we need to consistently build reports periodically to check for gaps, duplications, deletions, or things that are not okay within our database so that we can consistently clean up anything. that is affecting our data. And also there are something called validation rules. While we are building, there's something we do in my place. I know they use Microsoft Purview for this, and some people use Varonis. Varonis is another tool. Once you are trying to set up governance, if you are trying to send out an email that contains some information, maybe like credit card or something, it will flag it, and you need to put the labels. Maybe this is an sensitive information, or you have to label the mail. It could be official, unofficial, sensitive, classified, highly sensitive, so that once it's sent out, someone in the other hand can track it. And validation rules could mean if I send something and it contains this particular number of characters or information in my mail, it triggers something at the other hand. So you are going to spell out those rules while you are building the governance with the tool. All those things can be done with Microsoft Purview. It will specify that, okay, for me to do this part of the work, you define everything. So that when people are now using the system, if it is going in a chat in Teams, sometimes it will say, sorry, you can't send this thing because it does not align with the rules. You as a sender, you will know. I want to experience that. Maybe you are trying to open a website. It will show you, and it will bring like a red, sorry, you are not permitted to open this website because it breaches so. It will show you all those things. So those are validation rules that have been put in place. And standardization. Standardization simply means you're trying to define, like I mentioned, the data dictionary, the data format. If I tell someone, go into the data dictionary, or if there's no data dictionary, it will be different for everyone to work uniformly. If I ask you now, open a dictionary, and I open a dictionary from my own hand here, and I say, look for the word egg, and I open the word egg here, we will read almost the same thing because we are working with a dictionary. That's the same thing that applies in governance. So once there's a data dictionary in place, anyone within the organization can read and access it and use it in line of work, and we have the same definition to whatever we are doing. But if there's an organization that don't have a data dictionary, if you define a particular term as this, and I also work with the particular term, we can have different meaning. We can have different interpretation. And that alone will affect our work. So that's why they need to have standardization, that everybody's working with the same standards. Everybody's working with the same format. There are no variations. Compliance. When we talk of compliance, compliance simply means, are we adhering to standards that have been put in place? Policies, procedures that have been put in place. Take, for instance, the General Data Protection Regulation have their rules, have the things that have been spelled out. So whatever we are doing should be adhering. All those things would have said, for a particular data that is going to do this, these are the processes. You will list it A, B, C, D. And you now look at it, the data I'm working with. Because there was time I was working on a data and an external data request that was, I think it was requested by the Auditor General. In the Auditor General Act, there was a place that says, by virtue of the position of the Auditor General, the person can have access to data without getting a privacy impact assessment done. If I don't know it, I could be wasting time. So they can bypass a lot of things. So those are some of the rules in place. So by virtue of, because they want to use the data for what? They want to use that data for auditing, audit purpose. So one should be armed with knowledge of compliance. Are we doing things according to specified instructions? So that is compliance. Security. You want to protect data from unauthorized access, the use and breaches. You want to apply controls. Encryption simply means you protect the data. You use ways of masking it, like de-identification. You don't want your data that will be released to be easily identified. And you want to put a lot of safeguards on sensitive and critical information. Data qualities, you have to put policies in place for strict completeness, accuracy, timeliness, and relevance. and you want to monitor data quality across the systems. If I go to point A, like there was a time we were developing our SharePoint intranet. There are templates. So meaning once there are templates in place, everybody will use that template. So there will be very minimal variation. So that if I open the site of this department, I can see this information. If I open the website of another department, I can see the information. There are not too much variation. So that is quality. If I want to pull out data from this particular thing, I am pulling out, even if I come to my system, I can access the same information. If I use another person's system, I can access the information. So that even if I'm using different systems, whether I'm working on site or off-site, I can get the same quality information without having several variations. Stewardship, like I previously mentioned, who is the responsible person in charge of data assets? Who can we hold responsible to answer for the release and the use of data? And then value creation. All in all, we want to govern data to make sure that it is giving us the goal of maximizing business value so that we can make informed decisions and we can also drive business innovations. And flexibility and scalability, that okay, if we are building practices and policies in place, as our database increases, can we scale it up? All the governance practices that we have in place, can we scale it up? So these are the principles. Then quickly looking at best practices. You want to establish a clear data governance framework. When you get into an organization, part of the way you measure your data maturity is what framework is in place. Many big organizations don't have framework. Data storage, data access, data use, AI, data analytics. For instance, dashboards, all these visualizations, they have a use, but you want to make sure that whatever you are releasing on the dashboard has been cleaned from the background. And whoever is working, you're all working together. And you are following established framework like the Data Management Association, Data Management Book of Knowledge. So everything is clearly defined. So part of the governance framework is the data owner knows his role. The data steward knows his role. The data custodian knows his role. The chief data officer knows her role. A governance officer knows what they're supposed to do. So everybody is clear about what they want to do within that framework. Whatever we are doing aligns with the business goal. And in a way of discharging what we do on a daily basis, we are implementing the data policies, the data standards. We are looking at data. Okay, when data is being requested, we can look at it. Is this an internal request or an external request? If we know that it's an internal request, we will know, okay, this is just to go through the director or maybe the data steward. But if it is going externally, there are definitely more clearances that needs to be done, that needs to be sought. Because if a personal data is going outside of the organization, you want to be sure that all the important people from the data governance team to the data steward, to the directors, to the senior, all those top executives that will need to know and be aware, they will give their sign-in. Remember that there's something in business analysis called the RACI matrix: the responsible, the accountable, the consulted, and the informed. The same thing applies in governance. You want to carry along everybody that needs to be carried along because you have different power within that quadrant. And then you want to ensure data quality management, proper data profiling, cleansing, validation, monitoring is done. You want to make sure that the data you have, you can track the KPIs for accuracy, completeness, timeliness, and consistency. And you promote data stewardship and ownership. And the metadata management, that, okay, I can track how the data was last accessed, how it was used. Even if the data was downloaded, I can see the information. If the data was accessed, I can see who accessed it. If the data is modified or information about the data is modified, I can see when it was modified. Because metadata management helps us to not understand only the data, but how the data was managed. So it is very important. The compliance and security, how we can leverage tools. So like I listed here, there's Colibra, there's Alation, there's Informatica, Varonis, Microsoft Profit, so many tools. And many of these tools now you can automate it. Like if you're working and you're trying to send something and it gives you like, okay, before you send this message, you need to put a data label on it. It's an automated thing. Every time you want to send out an email, if that particular prompt will come, it's an automated thing. So it's not something manually done. So that's why we need to bring in some automations. And these are ways to achieve best practice. And like also you want to integrate the data warehouse to catalog and the master data management. There's a reference data management, there's the master data management. There are tools to manage all these different aspects of data. And then you want to measure and monitor performance. Like if you have dashboards, you can put in scorecards, you can put in KPIs so you can track how the organization is performing. And above all, you will keep on putting it in the face or in the ears of people to be data driven. You have to conduct trainings, sessions, webinars to educate people about data being an asset, why data is important, why data needs to be properly managed, why data needs to be harnessed, why it is very correct or very necessary to have correct data. You have to keep having these conversations from time to time and encouraging collaborations. If something is not clear, speak out so that we can inform you properly. So, as part of the data governance strategy, you want to understand more about the charter, the business driver, the vision, the mission, the data governance principles, the operating framework and accountabilities, implementation roadmap. Like, okay, we want to achieve this thing in the next 6 months. You want to put in place a framework or a roadmap from the current state analysis to the optimized future state. Then you channel it, even possibly you put in visuals in form of, you can even use the business process mapping of different processes. Is there any decision that needs to be made by like a gateway? Then you draw up the life cycle of how the data or of how decisions about the data will be made end to end. By so doing, it will capture all what needs to be done within the implementation phase. And then you plan for the operational success. So even after you roll out this strategy, you need to do what we call monitoring and evaluation so that you can see that this new thing you want to do, is it achieving a business function? Is it achieving a business goal? What can we improve? That will provide recommendations for future enhancements. So in conclusion, effective data governance relies on a strong foundation of accountability, transparency, and integrity, which ensures that data is managed as a strategic asset. So by implementing best practices, we can clearly have defined roles, we can standardize policies, we can leverage technology, and this can ultimately help us to safeguard data quality and compliance. That is, everything we do, we are working according to what set standards, set rules. Nobody is ignorant of what rules have been publicly published to like govern the area in which we are working. And a well-governed data environment will empower better decision-making, risk management, and business value creation. And I say thank you so much for your kind attention. Hello, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Sorry, I was having issues with my network. I've been trying to unmute and then it wasn't just unmuting. Thank you
No
so much,
problem.
sir. I really, it was like a full class. It was like, I'm looking forward to like more sessions because it was like a full class where we're like doing like a curriculum. And I learned so much. You know, what stood out for me was the fact that you're saying that we should always ask why. Why data? Why are we doing this with data? Oh, why? Okay, there's a hand up. Wow, I think we have a question. Hi, Razak. Hi, Razak. You can speak. You can speak. Hi, Razak. You can speak. But while we're waiting for Razak to ask his question, I really enjoyed this session, Dr. Ladapo, and I want to say a big thank you for taking our time to prepare this extensive and informative slide. You know, when you were going, you felt like you were giving us like one more curriculum in a day, and it was so informative. Thank you so much, sir. We know how to treat
Thank you
data
very
now,
much.
and we know how to, you know, to harness what you're giving us today. Thank you so much, sir. While we wait for Razak to unmute, and Razak, you can actually drop a chat in the chat box. You can actually drop a chat in the chat box so that you can ask your questions. You can actually drop your chat in the chat box. So I want to quickly run a poll. We want to rate Dr. Oladapo's webinar so that, you know, we can make Dr. Oladapo know that he has done an amazing job today. So I just dropped a poll now. How would you rate today's webinar session? Please take the poll. Somebody is saying 5. Oh my God, 5-star. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Oladapo. Thank you. And we have, I said another one again. We have an upcoming data governance classes this June. If you enjoyed this session, I trust me, the next session is going to be amazing. Are you interested to hear about it? Let me know, and then I'll be in your email address. I'll send you an email and then we can talk more about it. Yeah, thank you so much. So finally, I just have one more thing to say, after which, you know, we can, you know, end this session. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Thank you so much. So I'm sharing my screen, just one more information to go. Yeah, so this is about the course I was talking about. It's an 8-weekend course, and it's going to start in June. Just know that this one that you've seen today is just it's the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be more and more in that class. So I'm looking forward to having us. I'm looking forward to it, you know, to having us in that class, right? I don't know what's happening with Razak, or maybe the hand was a mistake, right? So we'll be ending this session. Thank you once again, Dr. Oladapo. I cannot thank you enough, but it's been a pleasure having you on the call. We look forward to having you on more calls and as we go on this data governance journey. And to everyone that joined, Razak, thank you very much for joining. Thank you so much. Your presence means a lot. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking our time on Saturday to join. Thank you so much, Ismail. I look forward to seeing us all in the next webinars we'll be having about data governance. All right, Razak already sent in a chat. Let's see what he said. All right, Dr. Oladapo, please, we have a question, sir, before you go. So his question is that, do all businesses need a dedicated data governance officer? Do small businesses need dedicated data governance officer?
Oh, well, I'll say yes. But the thing is this, even other than appointing a dedicated data governance officer, there are other people in the team, like those that are in assurance, they are already doing this function. But it is more, it's a good practice to have a dedicated team, so that, because looking at how the businesses evolve, there could be times that if you don't have a dedicated team, the work may be overwhelming, that the way or the way it's being managed will not be managed up to the optimal. So it's good, or it's advisable to have a dedicated team. Even if it's one person, it's good to have a team of individuals that manage it, so that you can manage how work is going, and you can even follow up. There could be a governance task that has been ongoing, like there's a particular task I've just been drafted in now. 7 years ago, some data were released without proper governance. Now we have to clean up. 7 years ago. So now me, I'm here. So I have to do all this cleanup with my guys. So that is why it's good to have a dedicated team. Because sometimes if everyone is busy here and they're doing so many things and you keep sweeping things on that, there'll be a lot of mess. So it's good to have a dedicated team.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I really, really appreciate that question you answered. So I hope you got that, Razak. It is good to have a data governance officer. There's another question again, Dr. Ladapo. You know, when I told you that your session was very informative, I think this is the evidence. So Razak is asking that if yes, how do they go about it? How do they go about handling both paper documents and online data? So data in paper, data online, how do they go about it?
So in essence, there's something we call source of truth. Any documentation that is being managed should be saved in a particular location that everyone can access. Take for instance, even if I have a form that I want to give someone that is joining our organization newly, there should be a soft copy of it that is somewhere in our system that if I am not able to print it out, I can send a soft copy to the person or to people in different areas who can fill it and send it back to me. So it's a better way of working if you can have your documents in a particular place that is accessible. So it's a better way of work to have all documents in a particular location that is a centrally accessible location like SharePoint or what we call a document manager, that you have a code. Some organizations have it that you have a code that, okay, if you now give those code to anyone that will access it, they can now download it out. So it's a way to manage documents. But the good thing is, as your work is progressing, you don't want to be having so many papers to fill. You want to move everything online because you can easily send it as attachments to people and you can get things faster. You can get things done faster. So you have a source of truth that as I'm coming in, okay, this particular document, this is the code. So you just go into the software, put the code, open it, access the data. Or you can even share that link with very many people so people can, everyone, different things can access it. So by so doing, it will lessen your work. You don't have to be sending it to individually, everyone here and there. So it's a good practice, having a source of truth.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that answer. I hope you got that, Razak. Thank you so much. So if we don't have any more questions, I'll close today's webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We look forward to seeing you in our other webinars. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye. Thank you so much, Dr. Oladapo. Bye.
Bye.